Much can be said about today's gospel, but I want to focus on the very end, where the man who has been exorcised, the demoniac, wants to follow Jesus. He wants to preach the gospel, but Jesus says to him, "Go home. Go home and tell your family and friends what the Lord has done for you." Now, this is a surprise because at the very end of the gospel, Jesus says to his disciples, "Go to the whole world and proclaim the good news." Here's a man who wants to do that already, far, far in advance of the disciples, and yet Jesus tells him to go home. I think this is good news for us because in some way, when we're touched by the Spirit, when we're moved by what God has done in our lives, sometimes we want to go into the whole world. We want to tell the whole world what God has done. We make big plans to do this, and very often our plans fall short. They fall apart, and we get discouraged. We think there's no way that we can somehow express or return what God has done. Of course, that's true to some extent. But we forget that perhaps what God wants of us is to go to those with whom we commune daily, to those whom we meet every day, those with whom we have a close relationship, to go to them, to show them what God has done. Maybe it is they who need to hear the words more than anyone else. And because they're close to us, they're likely to believe us. These are the people who very, very often, even though they might know Christ, even though they might know the words of the gospel, do not understand the reality or the depth of those words. And so they need someone to come to them. They need someone who is in their midst, someone who seems to them ordinary, to show them that God is powerful, that God does make real changes, that the words of the gospel are not just words. They are living words. They are action. They are power. So in our lives today, in these moments, even when we can't travel very far to preach the gospel, when we can't go into all the world, at least physically, let us be aware of those who are around us, those who need our witness, those who need to see what the Lord has done in our lives recently, those who need to see and have hope. Let us go to them and let us give them that hope that comes only from the Lord.